Hey there, Matthieu again, and thanks for joining for the last module of our course. Now I want to talk to you about a framework that I have created that will help you transform insights into action. To be honest with you, this is my favorite part of this course because I really believe that if you follow through this very simple framework, you're going to get some incredible results, some engagement, and success with your projects in CX. Let's talk about the agenda of the module. I'll tell you what is the framework about, why does it work? I'll explain to you all of the 10 steps of this framework, and I'll mention some of the pitfalls to avoid. Let's start with what is the framework about? This is a step-by-step process that will help you transform the insights into actions. Remember, on the module 2, we talked about how to generate the insights. I'll get back to it with the process because you will see how the full framework goes in a circular way altogether. And it helps companies solving their main challenges in delivering CX projects within specific constraints such as time or resources, engaging all teams in supporting the CX program. Don't know if you've encountered that challenge already, but engagement is one of the biggest problems that companies face, and also allowed to measure and share results. Why does it work? It works because it's really simple and logical. And yes, the things can be both simple and efficient. You will see it later. This is really not rocket science, what I'm showing to you. And some of you have already done some of the steps before. But now what I want to show is really a full perspective. And you will see that yes, it can be simple, but it doesn't also mean this is easy and you still have to have the right tools and the right processes and the right people in place, as I will explain to you. It is very practical and actionable. You've been following me for a couple hours by now, and you definitely understand that I love to talk about theory, I love to educate people, but also I believe that success in business comes from action, and it's not always about just talking, but doing things. And really, this is a practical framework, really tangible for you to get closer to your goals. As I mentioned before in one of the challenges, it is adaptable to any company's constraints. I will show you how later on, but you can really deliver results if you have still very little time, budget, or resources. Even though you don't have such a big commitment from the rest of your teams, you can still achieve great things, and it's going to bring more awareness and engagement, and you will prove success of this framework to gain more resources and unlock more capabilities. So let's jump now on the 10 steps of the framework. You will see some of the steps are very familiar to you because we've talked about this. We've talked about how to generate insights already. So again, I'm not going to go all into the details. You can go back to module 2, but that's about making sure you have the right tools and processes so you can listen to the customer's voice. You can generate those very valuable comments and also be able to quantify how many customers are complaining about a certain part of your journey and how many are very satisfied by another part of your journey. You have the full vision of the iceberg that we talked about before. That's all what your customers are saying about your experience. You have understood what is their full perception, and now you can work on improving the experience. Once you have all of those insights, you will have to analyze them in order to uncover those expectations and pain points. This is where you will want to have, hopefully, an automatic tool that tells you exactly where are the deep pain points and where should you be going on, and have also the root cause of those pain points by reading at the customer's quotes related to those pain points. If you manage to have a visual here of all of the pain points in, for example, a customer journey map, I really like to do that work where you can see over the main steps of the journey what customers really like, what they don't like, what they mention the most, and etc. That's going to be very powerful for later on. Also, you will want to keep the quotes that the customers have written for a later stage. I will explain that to you on step 4. Step 3 is to measure the impact of satisfaction on your business. As much as you can, you should validate what you see from the first 2 steps, you should validate that with your internal data. If you have this data and if you can believe in the numbers you see, because they will help you really understand how much it impacts your business, how many customers you're losing because you're not delivering on that specific pain point, or what is the return on investment of your activities. And that's really important for later on because you will want to measure the results. So now you need to also be able to prioritize and say, those projects, those pain points are costing us a lot of money. This is how we can solve that. 4th step is to share the insight generated with all teams. What you have done before, the first 3 steps, generating the insights in one way and trying to validate the impact it has on your business, are things that you do on your end to try to share to the people a compelling story and hopefully be able to engage them so they will want to help you solve those pain points, solve those problems, and improve the business. This is where you would have some presentations, or you will want to share some insights proactively via the televisions you might have in the kitchen or via a customer's newsletter, anything like this. But you will want to be able to link the quotes you have gathered before with this impact on the business, because people are going to react in different ways and numbers are just numbers. If I say, yeah, this problem has a certain impact on my business, we have 10% of people complaining about a delivery that takes too long and it costs us X amount of euros, is great. But if you can also read some of the customers' quotes, you're going to create a connection between the teams that are listening to your presentation and the customer. They're going to feel the pain of that customer, and this is going to help you engage and have them want to solve the problems. And this is usually what happens right after. The people will come to you and say, okay, we heard you. How do we solve that? And then the role of the person in charge of this process is really to support the teams with some workshops, for example, to brainstorm on solutions. At that stage, I like to do some cross-functional brainstorms where you gather one team with different expertise and background that is trying to solve one specific problem, and other teams solve different pain points. And at the end of the session, you will want to have them work on some viable solutions, at least to generate some ideas, and even have to write some of the best ideas into some one-pagers. The one-pagers, you will want to do them briefly, but have them prepared with the main information you want on a project, such as how much do you think it would cost? Are we talking about 10,000, 100,000, a million? Something very brief, but how many resources it would take, who should be taking care of that, what would be the expected outcomes, what are the reasons why you want to start this project, just having the main information of the project written on these one-pagers. The one-pagers, you gather them, and then you will definitely go to the main stakeholders to try to get better information on those projects in order for those one-pagers to be relevant and have the right information. Maybe not all of the people of the team had the right information, so you might want to complete that. But this is not a 6-month project that you are trying to create with a strong business case. You want to try to go very quickly, as much as you can. You decide, of course, but if you want to go through this iteration quite quickly, you might want to just say that a one-pager is sufficient. Once you have the list of the one-pagers, that's where you can definitely plan and prioritize. Here, the prioritization can be done quite simply as well. There's no need to go through months of prioritization, but you will definitely want to have the validation from your C-level as well as the main stakeholders who are going to be part of these projects. Then 7 is to implement the projects. This is more the project management part here, so I'm not going to go too much into the details, but if you have a list of projects you're trying to implement, you will definitely want to have some kind of CX portfolio project manager where you will want to have a tracking of all of those projects and maybe someone in charge of management of the portfolio of projects, because you will want to make sure you have first clear communication, but you will want to make sure that these projects are following the scope and are on time within the scope of the project, within the budget that you have mentioned. Number 8, you will want to measure the results. You will want, once the product has been implemented, you will want to measure exactly compared to what you have written from the one-pagers, what is the impact? And this is what you will want to share as the success of your project. And here, I think this is a really important step that is often overlooked. You have a tendency to have companies and teams that just go from project to project. Yeah, congrats, we've finished that project. Let's just move on to the next one. You need to really share success. And that's really important because now you have just proven that by finding one pain point or a series of pain points that you could measure and go through this process, you could implement and actually have an impact on customer satisfaction and also on the main metrics of your business, such as retention and profit. So here we are. Those are the 10 steps, or are they? This is just step 9. There's a 10th step, and this 10th step is to start a new iteration. Why? Because customer experience is not a finite game. This is not just a project that you start and end. Customer expectations are always rising and changing, and they actually do so at a faster pace that your company can cope with. It is a never-ending catching up with customers' expectations unless you can really truly innovate and create new value for customers. So you will have to restart the process with a new iteration. But what's great now is that, as I said before, you have proven that this framework works, and you have proven that working on solving customer expectations and pain points as the start of the journey works and brings financial results in a very positive way with better retention, better organic acquisition, and that you can generate some profits. Now that you have the framework in front of you, you can see this is definitely not rocket science. This is something that is very logical. And I want to give an example to you on how it works even with the lowest resources and capabilities. You might know, even though you don't have the most advanced tool to generate insights, you might already know, even from your contact reasons, some of the pain points of your customers. And if you ask for your employees, using this voice of employee that I talked about before, if you ask them what is their opinion on the root cause of those problems, you can already have some nice insights. You get those insights, you get the pain point. As much as you can try to measure that, but you don't have to go for huge analysis. You can maybe see that, 10% of those customers are complaining about these pain points, and you can just do a quick A/B test to see what is the impact on retention between group A that did not have this pain point occurring and group B that actually had that problem. What is the difference in retention? Then what is the impact it can have on your business? You might not be able to share that to the full company, but at least to the right people who can maybe help you solve this part. And then you're only coming with quick wins. You're only coming with this one solution to this one specific project. And then if you have only one project, the plan and prioritization are quite simple, and you can implement that. Hopefully it's a quick win. That's what you're looking for because you have very little time, very little budget and resources. You implement that and you measure the impact this had compared to before you start. Once you have done this, you should share success to your manager, to the rest of the teams as much as you can, because here, in maybe a couple of weeks' time, you came up with a problem that you managed to solve, not maybe entirely because it's just a quick win, but at least you've implemented one solution and it had a positive impact. By doing that, you're going to tell the people, guys, what I'm working on has an impact. It works. I'm solving customers' problems. And by doing that, I am creating retention and I'm generating money for the company. So give me more resources. Let's keep on working on that. Let's start investing in a customer feedback tool so we can generate better insights, so we can uncover bigger pain points and then have the right resources to measure the impact and then growing and growing and growing. So as you see, you might start with a first iteration and you don't have any of the capabilities. You go very simply all through the process, follow it up, share success, and then start a new iteration by just growing and getting bigger and solving bigger customers' problems. So I really hope it makes sense because this is really something that I have tried with some companies and it has shown some promising results. I would love for you to try it. It is there for you to follow and to try to implement. And if you have, of course, some questions, you can always contact me. I'd be really happy to see how it works for your organization. Before we end this course, I want to talk to you about some of the pitfalls to avoid while you're doing this framework, some of the challenges that I have encountered with some of the companies I worked with. Number one, as much as you can, you will want to be able to share the framework with everyone you will involve before you actually do that. You want to make sure everyone is on the same page and can raise the questions and concerns. If you have already some commitment from your C-level and you know you're going to need help from the logistics teams and the financial teams and the customer service teams in the future, you want to have them on board with this project, with this framework. Just sharing how it's going to be, just have them ready and also give them the opportunity to raise questions and concerns because you will want really them to be on board with the project. Number two, you will want to validate the scope of the iteration beforehand. So as I said, you might have 0 capabilities and then you're working on quick wins projects, or you might just say, hey, we have no tech capacity for the next 6 months, so we will only focus on non-tech intensive projects to solve some of the customer's pain points. It's great if you can agree with that scope of the iteration before, because then you don't end up with having crazy projects that you cannot solve and having people spending a lot of time for things that you cannot deliver on. So do you have budget? Yes, no. Do you have all of the teams? Which teams are already engaged and which teams are going to support you? What are the resources available? What is the time frame that you can work on solving those pain points? And then something to really try to avoid the frustration that you can create is to really finish the iteration before you start a new one. Imagine you're starting an iteration and you said, with our analysis, we found out 4 pain points, let's solve them, and we have a list of 10 projects. And when you're just looking at the prioritization, you come up with new pain points and you come up with new things you want to solve. And then you kind of like always trying to restart because there are always new problems showing up. And, you know, if you start to really get into this way where you're not being thorough and disciplined into following that, you're just creating some frustration, and you need to really let the people work on that, engage them with the solution, let them implement the solution, let them see the results before you come up with new pain points. And that's fine. You don't have to solve all of the pain points today. You choose to solve the pain points you have said would be at that point in time for this iteration would be the most relevant for you and your organization. So what to remember from this module? That you can work on improving customer satisfaction with little resources, time, and budget. You have to start simply and focus on quick wins. Then you will be able to get to bigger things. One key to success is to share the right information to the right people and empower them to solve the problems. You're not most likely the person getting all of these insights. He is not in charge of solving the problems. He's in charge of sharing the information to the people. And you want to get that to the right people, of course, but also at the right time. For example, just before you set the objectives of the year, you want to make sure you come with the right insights from the pain points you have generated. And finally, and this is going to be my conclusion here, improving customers' experience isn't a project. It's a continuous effort. You never stop working on improving customers' expectations. You never stop working on some projects. That's kind of like the beauty of it as well. But if you do it the right way, along the way, you will become a very successful and sustainable organization, and you will be able to keep on thriving in the future. So here we are. This is the end of this course on customer experience and customer centricity. I really would like to thank you. Merci for attending and for listening to me for this couple hours. And if you want to keep the conversation going, if you want to give me feedback or you need help for your organization, please contact me on the link that is displayed right now. I'd be really happy to help you. As I said, I hope it was really valuable to you. That was the right information for you. And I hope you will get successful in delivering a better customer experience. Merci and see you later.